Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Accountant, your weekly Monday live show. It is 8:30, and as always, we are here around these microphones, although Aaron's microphone's in a funny place this week. More on that in a moment, to bring you all the latest news, insights, and gossip from the industry. Well, the gossip we're allowed to tell you before we get told off again. Right, so as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Aaron Patrick. Aaron, how are you? Where are you? And what are you up to?
Well, hello, buddy. Well, I'm in London for hopefully the last time this year for work purposes. I'm thinking about my diary now. I think this is my last one, which I'm so grateful for. I've had enough of London now. Yeah, it's kind of got to me. It's starting to wear down. There was a point where I did 12 weeks on a trot, pretty much. Coming to London, staying in London, getting on the train. When you have to get on the 5:30 a.m. train to make sure that you've got to London on time, it does get to a little bit more. But I'm in Victoria at the moment, outside the QuickBooks office, in a cafe. And yeah, I've got big 2 days ahead of me. In fact, tomorrow, I'm at little old Westminster, going to talk to the government about what I think about small businesses or not, and how they're supporting them and all that sort of stuff. So it could be fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see.
I saw a very interesting kind of social media post the other day, actually. That's a stark reality of how much of a challenge we've got ahead of ourselves with small businesses. There was a picture of Donald Trump and his leadership team talking, and a picture of Sir Keir Starmer and his leadership team talking. Donald Trump, just amongst three of them, had 109 years of business experience between them.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Keir Starmer, between five of them, had nothing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which anyway, one support the small business and which one isn't? Probably none of them, to be fair. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Don't I try and pretend it will.
We are nothing if not here for our community. So let's say good morning to everybody in the comments. Good morning to Cheryl. In at 8:30 on the dot. Literally, Cheryl's message coming in and go, oh, crap, we better go live. Stop talking. We've got to go live. Cheryl's here. Good morning to Natasha. How are you? Good morning to Paul, Kirsty, and Sue. Good morning to Dave. Good morning. Hope everyone had a good weekend. We did. And good morning to Amy. Wonderful. Right. Let's get in it because we ran out of time last week with all of our juicy topics. So let's get into it straight away. Aaron, you were in London inside QuickBooks head office last week. What were you there for and what can you tell us?
Two things this time. So we were there celebrating the 10th year, the TWN network. So TWN network is the Trainer Writer Network. So it's my little hat that I wear when I do the QuickBooks training, certified training, and everything else. So we were there to celebrate 10 years and to go through the plan for next year and just, figure out what's gone right, what's gone wrong, do a bit of feedback, all that sort of glorious stuff. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. Got an opportunity to finally get a bucket list item and do karaoke with Nick Williams. So that was good fun. Mr. Brightside got some.
Gifted.
I should have done really, shouldn't I? Yeah, good point. And then while I was also in London because it was a rearranged date, we were there for the Accounting Council. Amy, who's in the chat, she was there as well. And Kirsty was there as well. And we went through what we could go through in terms of the Accounting Council. Now, I was kind of jumping in between. I was there at the beginning, then I came away from it, I came back again, and did a bit of the hokey pokey of Accounting Council. So I'm sure Amy and Kirsty got much more out of it. Enjoyed it much more. But it was good fun. Yeah, we got some nice swag, #gifted. The Monopoly board is finally in my possession at long last.
Oh, they had some spare, did they, mate?
Yeah. They were like, oh, Aaron, you can have one. It's all right. So I'm really happy about that. And then, yeah, we talked about, obviously there's a lot I can't talk about, NDAs and all that sort of stuff. But the stuff we did talk about that I can share is pushing on from what Intuit Connect had. So a lot of Intuit Connect stuff, if you see my videos, if you've seen Labs, we spoke a lot, or we've who can see a lot about where the future of QuickBooks is going, etc., into Assist and everything that comes with it. But what was really, really cool was they're doubling down on the whole idea that why jump into the file every single time? Why not get work done? Why not be told stuff are wrong or stuff or problematic or issues without having to go into the client? And to see that kind of shift is a big one, I think, because I'm sure we're all aware, like the more clients you have on your platform, the more you grow your practice, the harder it is to keep on top of everything. So being fed that information into a centralized location to say, look, you might want to look at this, or you might want to have this issue, or you might want to do this, or why not fix this by clicking this button here, I think is a really cool concept and something that I really, really get behind, because yeah, the less we have to load up the client itself and go in and make adjustments or whatever it's going to be, it's going to be really, really good. So yeah, great event, really, really enjoyed it. Shame I couldn't kind of be purely, county council focused and jumping in between everything else. I did feel a bit like I was almost having to catch up what was said.
Communicate between themselves internally to organise 2 different dates. That's what you mean.
Well, they did originally, and then they had the whole train strike and tube strike. So originally it was, but originally it was a completely different date, and then because it's tube strike malark, messed it up. But hey, it's the way it is. So yeah, ended up just seeing, what was in store. Had the opportunity to give some feedback, and as you can imagine, had a bit of feedback that I needed to give and push forward. So no, it's good. It was good event all round. Long live the next one. Can't wait for it to come around. Hopefully the next one I can actually be fully involved in it and not on the outskirts looking in sort of thing as I felt. But hey, it is what it is.
Brilliant. Right. Well, while you were doing that, give or take a few days, I got had the privilege of attending a free agent roundtable event. So this is like free agents' solution to an accounting council, as it were. They don't call it an accounting council. They try and do one a year, but they do it around the country. So Edinburgh was the 3rd of 3 events over that kind of 7 to 10 day period, I believe. I think they had one in London, one in Manchester, and one in Edinburgh. And they basically get 15 to 20 accounting firms around the table and bookkeeping firms around the table. No NDAs, so I can tell you everything that I've been told, which is exciting. I have to say, having attended the QuickBooks one versus theirs, I felt I gave a lot more and I took a lot more away from the free agent one than I have all of the QuickBooks ones combined, if I'm honest. It was a smaller group of people. They were hand-picked for their knowledge, their experience of the product. They were at various stages of adoption of free agent, so there was a good range of conversation. And because it was a smaller group, the debate, as it were, could go longer. And it sounds daft, but some of the topics we discussed were actually ones that impact us. Like, they weren't big fancy features. They're like 2-factor authentication. Should we mandate it? And there was a really healthy discussion about whether it should be mandated or whether by having that tool available and giving the firm the option to either mandate it for all users or not and stuff. Like, it was a really positive, constructive discussion, really insightful. And I kind of walked away from just that point thinking, Christ, that's the stuff that bugs me on a day-to-day basis. That should be my own firm's decision whether we mandate 2-factor authentication and stuff like that. And if we do, should we have a 30-day safe device thing, which defeats the complete point of 2-factor authentication? So don't do it. But yeah, really positive conversations, really interesting and insightful. It sounds like QuickBooks are going down the same kind of route as free agent have been for a little while now, with their central dashboard being the place where you can do things in bulk. So, recently free agent released the ability to reauthorize all your banking links for every single client from your accounting dashboard in Free Agent. Like, saves me so much time every single week. It's phenomenal. But what they've then announced at these events, what's coming next, very much in line of that. So things like the new bulk editing features coming, health checklists, so you can get an idea of your client's health scores inside your dashboard rather than having to go into the file and stuff. Business intelligence and insights being pulled in, and a VAT checker. So nothing that no one else hasn't already done. But I have to say, the way they plan to execute it, being at that higher level, which is what QuickBooks are now looking at, I think, yeah, that's definitely the more efficient way to do this. So yeah, no, I had a fantastic day. Started with lunch, and we're at the Balmoral Hotel, so it was a good lunch, right? Hashtag gifted.
Yeah.
But yeah, so absolutely fantastic to be invited to a Free Agent event where I could get to give feedback from my firm's perspective. Left us with a lot of things to think about in my firm and how we're going to tackle MTD, as it were. You know, to give you an idea of how positive and forward thinking the people around that table were, when they asked, how's everyone feeling about MTD? Like, are you worried that the software's not going to be ready? The overall consensus was, well, if the software's not ready, you're in trouble. Like, that's not our problem. Our problem is actually, how do we train our clients for this? How do we do this? We have to take it that the software will be ready as a given. And if it's not, well, that's industrial suicide, really. Whereas at every other event I've been to where we're talking about MTD, people are like, oh, will my software be ready? Will my software be able to handle it? It's like, well, if it can't, you've got a problem beyond whether they've developed it quick enough. So yeah, really, really positive day. And so it started at lunchtime. We had lunch. We had 3 or 4 hours of really good conversations. People like Alan Broom and Hannah Campbell were there. So yeah, really good to see them again and get some more of their insights in there. So yeah, and I mean, even like Johnson Carmichael, Scotland's biggest accounting firm, were in attendance to it. So yeah, and they had some interesting pain points and stuff that they were actually, yeah, we're dealing with the same thing, just at a smaller scale. So yeah, no, very, very good and productive. And if they ever want me to attend again, I'd happily do so. Not just because of the free lunch and a couple of beers at the end, obviously.
Honest. I wonder if, though, you know, your zeros, your sages, your free agents, are they the solution for the MTD clients who haven't already adopted? Because there's a reason they've not already adopted, right? Like, there's a reason they've not gone, and because we definitely on the same head space where for pretty much 99% of our clients, probably even 100%, right? If they're not digital first, not really right for us sort of mentality, right? So they, for our clients who haven't been forced through, mostly due to compliance, there'll be a couple of them who have, maybe, especially the VAT ones, right? But a lot of them, they want to use software because they want to have insight into their data. They want, you know, all the good stuff that we talk about on a day-to-day basis. I'm just wondering, you know, is something like Free Agent Zero, that are they the solutions for MTD, for the ones who obviously, they must be scared of digital adoption, they must be worried about the complexities, they must be worried about how it is. And I wonder if, as a firm, should we be looking at something else for those ones that are just going to be forced into it?
It's not even that, I don't think. I think it's the cost as well. I think that is a genuine concern.
Yeah.
So the free agent offer for me is just amazing because you get Metal and Free Agent for free. Now, Metal Bank is just phenomenal. Like, my clients love Metal Bank because it's like a Starling. It gives you all the modern in toys, but more. So because of its deep integration into Free Agent, technically my clients don't need the Free Agent app, because my clients can categorize their receipts in Metal. They could upload their receipts in Metal, which go into Free Agent. Like they could also send invoices from their Metal banking app. So actually, I've just got to train my client to understand one app.
Yeah.
And then you've got tax timelines, which, I mean, this is the golden bullet for customer service, right? I tell my client, look, you see that line there? It tells you VAT. That's pulling from Free Agent. That's telling you at any time what your VAT bill is approximately going to be. So open a savings pot and put your money in there. And then when I call you and tell you the VAT return is filed, like, there's no shock. So even better, create it so every time some money gets paid into you, a percentage that I will tell you, whether it's 20% or a smaller percentage, because we know what your average percentage of VAT to sales is, goes into that pot. And then I tell you what your bill is, and you've got some money left over. Like, it's like clients that save their money into pots, and then you turn around and say, oh, your tax bill's $2,500. Oh, I've got $4,000 in my pot. It's like, oh, enjoy your holiday. Like, do with it what you will. It's just such a more positive conversation to have with your client. And my client can do all of that in Metal without having to install another app, because we all get app fatigue. There's all too many apps. And the fact that you can do all of this free, the software is free. I mean, I was looking, like, obviously the email came out last Monday about QuickBooks price increases, which is their annual price increase email. I have no issue with it whatsoever. But actually, their Essentials package is now in line with some of the Free Agent packages for sole traders. And all of a sudden, I'm like, it might be time to look elsewhere. Like, if I can get them to open a Metal bank account, then I'm going to save them 180 quid a year.
Yeah.
Now, when you're a sole trader, maybe you're doing 20 to 25 grand a year in turnover and stuff like that. Actually, 180 quid really adds up. It makes a real difference. So, I mean, in some cases, that would pay for your personal tax return. Like, I'm not going to do your tax return for free, but I'm going to give you a tip. That means you're going to save enough money throughout the year to pay for it. So, yeah, I think Free Agent's got a really positive model that, unfortunately, QuickBooks, Sage, and Xero just don't have. I can't give them that deep integration with anything else between their banking and their FMS solution. So, yeah. And just to clarify, Free Agent have never paid me for anything I've done with them. Yes, they're a partner of Engager app. Yes, they've gifted me some swag in the past. Yes, they've gifted me some beer and a few events. But that is just before anyone gets upset about whether I'm being paid to advertise Free Agent. I use Free Agent on my own small limited company, and I use Metal Bank, so it's all true customer experience feeding back to you. Anything else? I'll just get to check with my lawyers if I need to ask her to say anything else.
Maybe we should get something along the line down here, when instead of Johann's Apology Corner, we should have disclaimer. Yeah.
I mean, at this rate, we're going to have a lawyer on standby at all times anyway. I'll just ask that. So let's, have you played with Metal? Have you played with that solution yet?
Funny you said that. Last week we had, I can't remember how it came into conversation, but that was one of the things that we said that's what we should be looking at, is because I've got Monzo, I've got Starlin, I've got every single challenge bank you can think of, Revolut, Tide, all of them. And I use Free Agent, but I've just never used Metal yet. So I think it's going to be done. Be interested to see how they handle the pots within Free Agent, because that's always been a big blind side, right? Like, we love pots. Everyone loves pots. But the idea of bookkeeping for pots is every bookkeeper's worst nightmare.
That's the beauty of pots in Free Agent, in Metal, is
Yeah.
Yes, you've ring fenced that money on your app. So in the user interface, it's ring fenced, and in fact, it's actually earning some interest in one of the pots.
Yeah.
But as far as the bank statement's concerned, it's just one big bank statement. There's no reference to pots or anything. So there's no transfers in and out or anything like that. It's really slick. So, free agent isn't looking at it going, well, hang on, where's that £1,000? Because it's on the bank statement. Yes, I know it's ring fence, it's earning a little bit of interest for me, but that's all. So makes the bookkeeping very, very simple for us. Right, let's jump back into the community quickly. Right, click accounting. Alexa is here. Good morning. Ashley Leeds is here. Good morning to Ashley and happy December. Very much advent calendar time, people. The escape room accountant / bookkeeper is here. Good morning to you, sir. Nice to see you again. Susanna is here. Good morning. Tim says, good morning, all. It's far too Christmassy in my office. Bar humbug. It sounds like your young team have been decorating, Tim.
Have you not seen what they've done?
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't allow it in your firm, put it that way. Too much organised fun.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that. We don't want any of that.
Vetoed straight away.
Lorraine says, metal and free agent is my suggestion to sole traders who haven't adopted software yet. Free software, and it's great. So there we go. Thank you. Right. More insight, more news. SIF Analytics have launched a new feature. For those that are using SIF Analytics, they've just launched activity logs. So think audit report, but also like how much time is your team members spending building reports each month? Like, could we have, like, basically it's helping you look for efficiencies. Like, could they create one report as a template and use that every month, or are they having to change it type thing? Very good. You can see which members are using which features as well. So you can maybe, no one's using this feature. Let's do a bit of training in that and drill down on that. Really cool little system. Also shows you if you're using like two-factor authentication and who is and isn't and stuff like that. So if you've got a company policy that mandates everyone has to use two-factor authentication on the following apps, then you can check that and police that. Very cool little feature. I've not had a huge amount of time to play with it, but I am enjoying what it's showing me. It's highlighting a few areas that we can work on and do some training with to get the team up to date and making sure they're using it properly. It looks at how many visits there are on each page from each user and stuff. So you know who's in and out regularly. And you can look back, not just like over the last 30 days, but you can choose how far you want to look back and stuff. So, yeah, very cool little advancement, which helps. Like, all right, probably not much use for solopreneurs, but for those of us that have got teams where we're like, are they using it? Aren't they using it? Are we getting value for money out of a tool? A feature like that's really, really helpful.
Have they said anything about what the zero acquisition is going to do to them or anything? Is that any of that's come through?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
They did say originally it's not really going to change much to start with, so we'll see. I think tinfoil hat moment, just before I do my tinfoil hat moment, hashtag not an ad. SIFT have never paid me to do anything. They've asked me to spend, in fact, I've paid them far too much money over a long period of time. Actually, it's been very good value for money, to be fair, for their subscription. We've used it for years in my firm. And I've done a few webinars and stuff free of charge for them, as the nice person that I am. So yeah, that's disclosure corner solved on that article, on that point. Tinfoil hat moment. I think Zero's acquisition is probably more to build into Zero rather than it to change SIF Analytics. I think SIF Analytics will probably stay the same and continue doing great work, I hope. And I hope the pricing model stays the same. But I think the main acquisition purpose was so they could take that information that's in SIF Analytics, those graphs, that AI, etc., and embed it within the Xero platform. Would be my thoughts. That's the powerhouse that's going to power their reporting and stuff. Which QuickBooks is building their own, very, very slowly, I might add, but they've been trying to build their own for a few years now, where you get your nice graphs instead of P&Ls and stuff, because 99% of clients do not understand what a profit and loss is. Put a graph in front of them with the ups and downs, and they go, "Oh, that's a dip. Is that good or bad? Bad. Right. Oh dear. Better fix that." Like, everyone can see a pattern in a graph. Not everyone understands numbers and sees the matrix. So yeah, I think that's the main purpose of this acquisition, was Xero wanting to embed the insights and the reporting and the graphs, etc., inside Xero rather than mess around with SIF Analytics themselves, I think.
And it makes sense, right? Because if they can stop you having to go out of Xero and do it all within Xero, you're an extra. I imagine they want to charge a premium, because they're pretty good, aren't they, Xero, at putting those add-on costs. It's quite seamless, isn't it? If you want to, is it expenses or something springs to mind?
The only seamless part that they've got is straight into subscription.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, they're pretty good. None of the others really have add-ons. Xero is the only one who's really pushed that add-on mentality, right? Other than payroll, you don't really get an add-on in QuickBooks. It is you pick your level and then you get everything in within that level, right? Xero has been pretty good at going, right, okay, to add X, Y, Z, whatever it's going to be, here's the add-on.
Whereas the pricing that was meant to come out in September is now coming out next year at some point, meant to get rid of this add-on malarkey and go more towards a QuickBooks approach. You've got all of this in this level. If you need more, you go to this level.
Well, maybe they'd be not so seamless going forward then.
But you would hope that you'd get SIF Analytic reporting built into Xero on the unlimited package. But
yeah, you'd expect it to be more like the equivalent to a QuickBooks Advanced, though, wouldn't you? You'd expect it to be that tier. Not the Plus. It doesn't. It almost feels. It feels very un-Xero-like to give it away for free, right? And I can't imagine that's a worthwhile idea for them either. Like, it is a good product. You should be paying for it, and there's no reason why they would. It almost feels like they're building up for another tier, like or whatever they're going to call that tier, And I feel like this would sit lovely in there, right? In that extra top of the line tier that they could just add that element to it. They could add some of the other features they've got. But if they could have it built directly into Free Agent, or if you're still paying for your subscription, but you can still get access to it, I think that's a massive win, because nothing worse than having to jump between the two. And I from what I've used as Swift, it's never a synchronization issue. It can still happen, can't it, from time to time?
Yeah.
So building it directly in, let it have access to it, and everything else should be good. Would you want Jax involved? I don't know.
Probably not, because SIF's got his own built-in AI that I try and test. I use it weekly. SIF's AI tool, like, absolutely nails it every time. And I go in looking informed, and had a client meeting on Thursday morning, ran the reports that I normally take with me. Ran AI from SIF Analytics over it, came up with some conversation points. I sat there looking all intelligent and insightful, and like I'd spent hours planning for this meeting.
But isn't this where they've got to figure out where Jax sits? Because in reality, this should be Jax and SIF Analytics as AI should be one on the same thing, right? They should interchange, and they should all be the same. Give you the same features.
Analytics isn't going to do some of this basic stuff that Jax is planning to do with, like, taking actions, raising invoices and stuff. But if you wanted to advance Jax into the reporting and analysis, then Jax just defaults into the SIF AI model, surely. And whether we get told, oh, this is Jax, this is SIF Analytics, like whether they're that as transparent, like Apple Intelligence is very transparent of going, this is the Apple Intelligence Siri answer, and this is the Chat GPT answer. So whether they are that transparent with it, I don't know. But do they need to be? If you know you've got SIF Analytics plugged in and that's what's powering your insights, then yeah. But yeah, this could shortcut it for them if they can find a way to go from Jax into SIF, but keep it presented in the same UI.
Because at some point we're going to be comparing products to AI capabilities, aren't we? Like that's going to be a conversation topic. That's going to be which is right for my client. Well, what do they need to do? How can AI help them? I think if they don't make this seamless, like literally, like they don't know that they're either in SIFT AI or in Jax AI or whatever it's going to be. I think that's going to be a big downgrade for them. And
is it a feature that's ever given to the client? I don't know. Like maybe SIF Analytics insights are ring fence for the accountant and bookkeeper to use. Like who knows? But yeah, I mean,
they kind of need that though, don't they? If they want to reverse the messaging that they first came out with you don't need an accountant, use Jax. Like they need these features to be ring fenced for accountants only, don't they? So that it adds the value of having the accountant and adds the value of bringing it there. So let's hope so, because it's going to be really interesting the next 12 months or so as to what AI features each of those platforms have. So this could be a real, quiver in their bow sort of thing. That could be a real opportunity for them to flex what I imagine the others can't just come out the gate with. I imagine these are going to be stuff that will come down later down the line, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
has Fathom got anything like this for Sage? Do you know?
No, I don't think so.
That's their equivalent, isn't it? Fathom and Swift. Futurely, sorry, Futurely.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not looked deep enough into it to know, but that's based on history. What we do know is integrating two softwares just because you own them both. It's not simple.
No,
it's an absolute minefield still. So time will tell. Time will tell. And as long as they don't mess around with SIF Analytics and SIF Analytics keep dropping their updates, I'm happy. Because it is a great product. Like, they've got one of the quarterly updates in the next week or two. So I've signed up to that because they've got a new cash manager tool coming out and a few other bits and pieces that I will report back on once I've seen them. But it's one of those tools where you see constant improvements. So that's always exciting to have new toys to play with. Without having to sign up to a new bit of software, which will please my team no end. But yeah, right. Speaking of launches and announcements, Engage's auto-linking emails goes live tomorrow morning or tonight, depending on how late someone wants to stay up for. But yeah, basically, regardless whether you start an email or receive an email in Outlook or Gmail, it will, as long as you've connected to their API in Engager, we will automatically recognize the email address and tag it to the communication log, which that isn't anything new. Like Carbon and Bright Manager have been doing that. Pixie have been doing that for a long time. We've tried to do it to a deeper level as per usual with Engager. So not only will you be able to set the settings globally so that all emails are tracked and you can add as many contacts as you like to a client with a client's record in Engager. So, if you want to add hot food down the road restaurant.com or whatever it's called, because they send invoices in and you want those to be linked into the client's communication log, then you can. And then, so we can do that globally, or you can go through a client by client, like business by business level and a contact by contact level as to who you do and don't save, hopefully to prevent a bit of overwhelm. But yeah, so that launches tonight, ready for tomorrow morning. Initial testing has been very positive in my firm, at least. Like, everything's been auto linked. It's been fantastic. We've created a few new contacts where we're going, actually, we'd like that to auto link. And yeah, it just goes straight into the communication log. It's nice and easy to search the communication log and filter out different types of activity and stuff. So very excited to see that coming. Yeah, I mean, you're an Engager user. What are your thoughts on that?
Complete honesty with you, I'm glad you've given the option to keep it off.
Yes,
we won't be using it. But that's our choice, right? Like, we don't want to be overwhelmed when we go into client Engager. We want to just know what our big ticket items are. That's what we love about Client Engager. Keeps us honest, keeps us true to making sure we deliver our work to our clients. And, you know, rightly or wrongly, we have a different mentality that we don't want. You use
Spot, don't you, to track your
and
if a
exactly.
Client,
we don't want distractions, and what we don't want to do is our team goes in to do a VAT return or something and notice that there's there's a thing for them to reply to this email or something, and then they go off and do that and forget to do. We're just very much a case of like, let's keep all of our communication in one area. Let's keep all of our elements that we need to run compliance in another, and it works really well for us. But I definitely see this as a huge benefit, especially people who are still using, Outlook or I can't believe people are still using that, right? Like Engage will be so much better for them.
Like, it's a behavioural change to stop using it, but also, like, if that's where your calendar is, if that's where your diary is, then you will. Yeah.
I mean, I still use Outlook. Outlook is still there for the calendar mainly, but personal emails and stuff, as in a.patrick@botfix.com, those emails, they'll still go there. So there's still a need for me to check those emails and everything else. But the mission critical ones should and will always go to the more generic emails in our case. So we want to be able to keep on top of that, make sure that we can't read an email by accident and not get back to the client, them sort of things. And I know people use folder systems, they use color coding systems. People have built really sophisticated solutions to get around it, right? But for us, we just want to have it in a place where we can run analytics, figure out where our issues are and everything else. And I think for some people, if they're still using Outlook and Gmail or whatever, this will be huge for them, because you've got that task management solution built directly into Client Engager. You can put that there. We have the odd emails get linked automatically anyway that appear in that area, that communication area. So we see the benefit of it coming through from there. But we get to kind of see only that high level stuff that maybe we've asked them to go and fill in a form, or maybe we've asked them to go and on board, whatever it's going to be, and it just keeps it cleaner for us to be able to see that. But like you said, the filtering systems perfectly adequate to find all that. We're just happy it's there. So yeah, good positive move. And I think this was one of the things that Pixie maybe had like a benefit over Client Engager at one point, because they had that, didn't they? They nailed that email integration going into there.
Yeah, so they had the integration, but they would save it everywhere because they didn't have the granular level. So we say, do you want to save these emails to the business record and or the contact records? So you've got a lot more control with what we are doing here. But yeah, Pixie's email triaging and stuff, Carbon's email and triaging stuff has always been a very strong.
Carbon, wasn't it? I knew there was one more. Yeah. That's good. So, I mean, it's positive, right? Like, and from memory, it was one of the features high on the community request list, right? Like they will, and you've always built for what the community wants.
Like bigger firms that didn't have the time to manually link everything, bigger firms where some staff members weren't doing it, and this just blankets them all and deals with it all in one go.
Perfect. And that's what it's good. So yeah, I think it's a good one. I can't really see any negative for it. And by the sounds of it, the way you've done it, where it's not downloading, uploading, all that, so it still shouldn't affect the speed, right? Because that was always a bit of a concern that you'd slow it down, right?
Yeah. So we're linking to the email that's saved on the server, Outlook or Gmail. We're not copying and saving data for the sake of it. So, like, I've had it active in my firm for about a week now, and it's not caused any performance issues and slowdowns whatsoever. And we get a lot of emails. Like, I get 50 odd emails a day coming into my inbox alone, never mind the support inbox, the payroll inbox, all of my team's inboxes. Like, it's not blinked an eye at it, because all we're doing is storing a link. So a minor amount of data, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Good. Yeah, because that's always the fear, isn't it? That you start adding these features and it slows it down to a snail's pace, isn't it? Which is always been kind of the benefit. Yeah,
definitely. And the other thing we didn't cover last week, because we ran out of time, but Engager and RQ announced their latest partnership. Now, you like RQ, and as an ICAEW member, they are certified by your governing body and recommended to use to track your referrals and stuff. Have you implemented it in your firm? Are you using it yet? RQ.
So we've signed. Yeah, RQ. We've signed up for it. I'm completely honest, mainly out of fear. So Steve's done a good job of kind of highlighting why you should be using RQ. So just for people who aren't aware, there's a lot of red tape if you want to refer another service provider to do. It could be a mortgage advisor, it could be a legal, it could be all manner of different things, especially if the relationship is a referral fee, etc. The way we've always tackled that before was we just don't do referral fees. It's just not worth our hassle of having to go through the red tape, having to do new engagement letters, having to etc. It's just so much easier to just say no referral fee, move on. But you're leaving money on the table. You're leaving, sometimes you're leaving actual benefits for the client as well, because you can't accept those benefits or you can't push those through because it would, technically be classed as a referral and technically you'd be on the thing. So RQ's done a really good job to highlight those areas and find a solution that actually works in terms of not only finding a network that you can trust, so maybe blindside that you might have already in your practice, for example, of a mortgage advisor or whatever it's going to be, but also they'll deal with the paperwork and the elements that mean that you can actually engage with these services properly, correctly, not get yourself into red tape or bother later down the line. So yeah, really like it.
There is another level there that I think, even if you aren't charging referrals, so you think, I don't need this tool. The question I have for you, do you ever document and prove that your client gave you permission to share their personal contact details with that provider, which is technically a breach of GDPR? If they turn around and say, I never authorized that, and you can't prove that they did or didn't, then that's a GDPR issue. So RQ kind of tackles that because they ask for the client's permission before they refer it to the referral partner. So
and we were looking at other use cases for RQ as well, and even client referrals. So if you've got a client that's referred X and referred Y, there's nothing stopping you using the system to follow that all the way through. And hey, it's a way you can damage a relationship with a client, right? They've referred XYZ. You've had that conversation where it says, really appreciate that. So, we offer XYZ for referrals. Maybe it's a discount on your next bill or whatever you've got an agreement with your clients for referrals. If you then don't discount that bill or whatever your thing is, that's a sour taste in that client, doesn't it? Like they went out their way to get a referral over to you. So to have a system in place to make sure that they are done, everyone's transparent about it, everyone knows exactly what the referral is, and all that sort of stuff, and it closes that loop. I can really see that as a benefit as well. So yeah, it's clever, isn't it, that they've kind of come to it with a problem we probably didn't realize we had, or a problem we weren't fully worried about, or it wasn't keeping us up at night. And then they've done the clever thing of kind of going, are you aware of it? And once you are aware of it, that starts opening up, and then they've got the solution ready made to go in. So we'll see, and I think it'll help us with like internally as well, finding new people to help us do, insolvency, for example, or whatever it's going to be. Like there's going to be a whole load of people to be able to help with that.
Like, have you tried so again, we'll just clarify, not an ad, never been paid by RQ to do anything on a personal level. I've been using RQ for over a year now. So RQ came through the early adopters program, which I was a part of at the time. So probably 2 years ago now, actually.
Yeah.
And we've used them ad hocly in that time, and we've been dabbling with it. But the most powerful feature there, whilst yes, it's great to be GDPR compliant, referral compliant, and tracking that income to make sure we get paid. Their Compass report questionnaire is so powerful. So you send out this questionnaire, it does quite what you would probably expect as a report to be done with, and a Q&A session to be done with, like an IFA. It gets quite into the nitty gritties, like when's your mortgage due for renewal? How much is it? What's the interest rates? Blah, blah, blah. So like, I know 95% of my clients don't have a will because they've filled out this questionnaire, and all of a sudden for my own clients' welfare, I need them to get a will, because if they've not got a will dictating who gets the shareholding of their limited company, I'm going to have a real blooming headache when the bus hits someone next week. I know when their mortgages are coming up. I found out through this questionnaire that someone's wife wasn't earning very much for various reasons. And actually, every time we've spoken to him, it's like, oh, what does your wife do? This, like, is there a tax-free allowance we could transfer over? Oh, no. But their circumstances changed in the last few months. He filled out this questionnaire. It's like, cool, there's a marriage allowance to be allowed. There's, we could add her as a shareholder to your business for your tax-free dividend allowance. Like, all of a sudden, we're adding more value, and we're also recommending things to him that it's like, if you've not got this in place, you probably should have. And like, it just adds real value to the conversations you can have.
And much more proactively, right? Because you probably would have caught most of that through their end of year checklist or something back in the day. But if they leave that to the last minute, sometimes your hands are tied, right? And you can't either provide or help them, or it's not as effective to them because you're doing it later down the line. Whereas this is, you can really do this on the onboarding call, right? Really, like that's the point of it, isn't it?
Part of my onboarding journey now is you fill out a new client form in Engager, and that helps us put all the documentation in there, and then we go, right, while we're waiting on professional clearance or HMRC authorization, whatever it is that's holding us up, can you fill out this form for us? It might, you're going to have to do some digging into your paperwork to fill it all out properly, but it will help us help you better, because the clients never know when you sit there in a meeting, when's your mortgage due in a renewal? And why do we ask that? Well, it's because that isn't going to impact on what our advice is for their tax returns and stuff for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So the fact that I go into a meeting knowing when their mortgage is due, and they go, oh, I want to be tax efficient. Oh, I don't want to pay any tax this year. I can go, well, that's fine. But the implication is next year when you come to do your new mortgage, you've not got very much money earned to be able to borrow on. And we can have that constructive relationship and that constructive conversation. So really powerful insights. So at the moment, that partnership's brand new. They will be attending Engager Labs. And then at some point next year, we're going to be pushing and pulling data backwards and forwards to make it even more efficient for us to use inside and outside of Engager. So, another exciting partnership there.
I think for me, the big excitement for that relationship is where you guys can take it when the integrations start coming in, right? Because I love the RQ platform, seems really intuitive and everything, but it's still another platform, right? And there's another login that the team needs to get involved in, and there's training involved and everything else. So hopefully, fingers crossed, and it can be achieved like this, but the ideal solution would be that from client engagement, we can do 99% of what RQ can do right directly from the platform.
That is the goal. And RQ are very happy just to go, look, as long as you put in powered by RQ on the relevant screens, we're happy to be the powerhouse behind it. We don't need them to come to our platform. We're not vain. There's no vanity here. Like, we don't care whether they do it on your platform or our platform. We just want them to use the tools.
Yeah.
So, yeah, huge potential with the integrations in the coming year. Very excited to see what comes out of that.
Awesome. Exciting times.
Always exciting times. Cool. Right. Last 20 minutes. So, last 10 minutes, sorry.
10, I was going to say.
Right. My final learning from Free Agents Roundtable. Did you know Free Agent have a hidden service? They don't really talk about it, but they have it. They've got a free migration service. But unlike competitors who use like Move My Books and stuff like that, they've got a dedicated implementation team that do the migration for you manually. So you know it's done right. Which is, yeah, had no idea they had it. So there'll be a conversation had there, especially for those clients that are on a package that is of equal cost at Free Agent than a competitor, or where I think I could get them onto Metal Bank so they can have free stuff there. Yeah, one of my holdbacks was, I've got to migrate, but now I know they've got a migration service. Oh, maybe I don't have to migrate them myself. Maybe that makes it a bit more attractive. And I've never had a great experience with these Move My Books and other solutions like that. I've always had, like, we did a Sage one into QuickBooks the other week, and apparently there was unpaid bills from 2007, and that triggered a whole phone call, emails. Like, is that in the Sage file? Is it not in the Sage file? Like, is it an error from the migration? Like, we just lost time to it, and it's like, I haven't got time to lose time to stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, do you think having a dedicated team doing it manually is a better way forwards than just uploading and?
I'll be completely honest. I don't use any of the services anymore. Move My Books is a great idea, but yeah, problems here, there, and everywhere. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a purist when it comes to data migration. We just do it ourselves, and we charge for that service to do it. But that's because I've just been burnt before, and you know, even QuickBooks went for their own internal solution for a while. There's just so much out there. There's too much issues, problems, and everything else that goes with it. Sometimes the cleanest way is just to
too much great.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just have control yourself. You know the software inside out. You know where you want things to go. You know what's going to be right for your client or not. And sometimes you've just got to accept the fact that it's going to be there. But yeah, if they're doing it themselves, hopefully they know the software inside out. Fingers crossed. Free Agent, you'd expect that, right?
Yep.
And I must admit, like, as much as Free Agent has some really cool features, one of the things that they don't have nailed down is that journal entry type, let's just get things done sort of thing. So I think if you were to do it yourself, I think you'd have a really difficult day, because I don't think there's like as many import and export options and stuff you've got with other solutions. So that's where they will become really valuable to you, because they're doing stuff that you literally cannot do within the software, right? Like they're doing features that you can't replicate yourself. So that's pretty big, and that's going to be pretty useful. And I think as long as they can, as long as anyone can get this as clean as they possibly can, then the hardest bit isn't necessarily migrating the data, but it's then training the client, isn't it, as well? So, you know, if they can also offer some training and get that client over there, like the first few days of it, I think that's the bit that you've already said, right, is the tricky bit. You're trying to convince a client to move from X to Y. You're changing their behavior. I think the migration's one step of it. Brilliant. I don't think anyone's quite nailed that. All right, let's take your hand and go through there. And I think there's definitely a room there. I know in the training side of things, we've been looking at ways in which we can go, right, if you use Xero, and this is how you use Xero, and it's this XYZ, then this is how you replicate that in QuickBooks. And I think that's definitely something that all of them, if they want to kind of nail that migration, nail that move one client to another without any form of pressures or friction, then I think they've got to also nail the training side as well and be like, look, this is how it used to work. You used to do XYZ here in whatever platform you're using. To replicate this in this platform, this is how you do it. And if they can get that bit, that'll be the chef's kiss of proper migration, right?
If we're going down the route of MTD and mandating that everyone should be using this an accounting software,
yeah,
and we're going down the route of e-invoicing eventually, which means you're going to need to use accounting software. At what point should the government step in and go, right, like with banking, we want a switch guarantee from all of you, where you will do, like, because we've already forced everyone to use you, so now you need to make the transfer between one to the other really seamless.
Yeah, but then where does it stop, right? Like, do we have to have the switch guarantee on practice management solutions going for one day? Do you know what I mean? Like, which you definitely don't want. It'd be good for you, but you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But there's, it becomes, I just feel like.
But you're not mandated to use practice management tools. You're being obliged to use an accounting software.
But where does it stop that any software doesn't have like a switch guarantee going forward, like anti-competitive rules and all that sort of rubbish?
Well, a lot of private investment companies in this industry seem to be ignoring anti-competitive rules and not being challenged on them. So I don't see that being an issue for anyone else either. They can get away with it.
I'd imagine that wouldn't be an accounting thing. That'd be a software thing. Like if you're software in any space, is there a time of day where they go, right, anti-competitive rules, if you've got to be able to switch guarantee from your side? Just you open a can of worms, right? That I don't think anyone wants opening. I think and sometimes it's right to, when you move from one software to another, you kind of draw a line in it, right? You draw a line. You've made mistakes up until that point. You've probably not got your data as best as you possibly
tied it up.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the big, and maybe you're telling yourself that to make the pill easier to swallow, but there's definitely something in having that fresh start with some software, isn't there?
Definitely. Speaking of moving on, and you going on to the dark side, I'm going to give you grief for this after you gave me grief for looking at Google a year ago. You've been playing with a Windows laptop. I even had a social media post on it. I mean,
I did.
Go for it.
I mean, I think to clarify here, it's not that I definitely want to be a Windows user. I'm more than happy being an Apple user. That's my jam. I've got full disclosure. Wait a minute, let's put disclosure corner up yet again. I'm a shareholder for Apple, so I should be, take my advice with a pinch of salt. But realistically, my team don't all want to use Windows Mac laptops. They don't all want to be on the Apple ecosystem. So I've got to keep my eye on what's best in the Windows world, what we should recommend to team members, what's going to work for them, etc., etc. And when Apple made their jump from Intel-based machines, which were loud, clunky, your console had to be plugged in, all that sort of stuff, and they went to an M series, which is their mobile chip, M4 right now. We saw some huge gains, right? Like battery life is insane. The power to, to energy, the lack of need. I mean, the device I've got in front of me now doesn't even have a fan in anymore, right? Like the Air doesn't even have a fan. And we've been living in this kind of ivory tower for a long time. And these mobile processors that are absolutely insane, does everything for you. You can do, the AI capabilities and everything else comes with it. It just out of this world. Microsoft's finally caught up. So the Windows side have got, they've gone for ARM processors, which is, same that's in mobile phones again. So they've gone for a mobile first processor. They've gone for AI capabilities. And generally, the devices are night and day better than any other Windows laptop out there, because you don't have to keep them plugged in at all times. They do last a whole day, going through from there. So I think that's where I came from. That's where my reasons to move over from or to trial the Windows side of things. I think they've nailed it. I think they've kind of thought about, what from a Mac side of thing was the best parts of it. I think they've nailed it. I would still say, though, I would still choose Mac over Windows every single time. It's just, so much easier to use. There's so much element. That's because that's what I'm used to, right? I'm used to clicking in the right-hand side and it does this. I'm used to swiping 4 fingers to get a gesture up. I'm used to all that sort of stuff. One thing I would say, though, is it's made me look at the iPad differently, because as much as we love the iPad and we think it's a great device, I know you've tried to make that your one and only device when you're out and about, but I still can't make it work for me.
Well, I don't have a MacBook Pro anymore.
Oh, so you got rid of yours, have you?
This office setup is powered by my new Mac Mini, which I'm loving with. And in my bag is just my iPad Pro and my iPad Mini. That's it. I don't use a laptop when I'm out and about anymore. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't find the need for a laptop when everything I do is web browser based and stuff. Like I don't edit videos when I'm out and about. I mean, I don't edit videos when I'm at home anymore. Katie does that. But I just couldn't justify carrying a third device with me. So it's gone.
There's too many times when I come to a brick wall and go, right, the iPad can't do X, Y, Z, where I just go, it just won't work for me. But what they do, because my favorite thing about an iPad is the 5G connection, the cellular service idea. Like, it's always got an internet connection. It's always connected to something. It's just so much more productive that way.
Yep.
But, Apple will never give you that as a solution. Apple will never give you that ability to have an all-in-one device. Your laptops will never get a 5G connection. They'll never get a touchpad. Your iPad will never get Mac OS. And there's definitely something about that perfect hybrid solution. And I feel like they nailed it. So I'm happy. I think for team members who want Microsoft going forward, that's the only solution that I would ever push, is a Copilot Plus one. And I think for myself, just having an option that I don't need to take the iPad sometimes, I don't need to take a laptop sometimes, this could be a perfect solution to bring with. So Larry. The AI stuff's weird though. I thought I'd use it more. I thought it would be more of a game changer.
No, it never is.
It's a gimmick, isn't it?
And it requires, if you think, the only AI I really use is Microsoft Copilot, because it transcribes all the meetings, summarizes, and gives me action points for my team in OnPoint and all my client meetings. So all my client meetings now happen on Teams because it's so much more efficient for me. If the team meeting goes ahead without me, I get a full oversight of that because Copilot attends in my stead, basically. I use my Claude AI for when I'm on calls or I'm out and about and I need to record things. That summarizes everything. I use Step Analytics AI. That's pretty much the only things I use religiously day in, day out. Yes, ChatGPT gets used, but for certain tasks and certain things, which maybe once every week or two I need it. But it's with any new technology, as we've always said, it's about behavioral change. It's about including that in your habits and your routines. So I'm not surprised you're not using the AI in the laptop as much as you originally thought you were going to. Because
I mean, the idea of it being on device over cloud's clever, right? Because you don't always have fast, reliable connection, and sometimes it is quicker. Like for that, what you just said there about Microsoft Copilot being on device for the meetings technically means they get transcribed quicker, and technically means that when's that really slowed you down? Because by the time you've gone into client engager, you've said that you've had this meeting with the client, you've picked what the location was, you picked the person, all that sort of stuff, and you're ready to post that summary in. It's 9 times out of 10 done, isn't it? Like there's never, you don't need it any faster. So it's an interesting world, isn't it, that we're looking for these, and it's like Formula One, isn't it? We've kind of got to this point where we're looking at milliseconds over.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
when it was a day to transcribe, big issue, right?
Yeah.
But now it's we could, instead of being 5 minutes, it could be 2 minutes. Does it really make that much of a difference for us? I don't think it does it?
It adds up in the long run. It's that infinite game mindset of, does it make a difference to this moment in time? Not hugely.
Is it slowing down your workflow? Probably not.
Not, but in the long run, like, it's like payroll software. Yes, I could have a really cheap solution that I pay them very little for, but actually it's costing me 5 times the amount of salaries because it's not an efficient tool to use.
Yeah.
It's that picture kind of concept of, I can't look at it from a transactional level. I've got to look at it from a bigger point of view.
But when it's the same solution on one device and same solution on the other device, and it's marginally quicker, you've got to think to yourself, is it, are we gaining anything from this, right? That's where you've got to kind of come from.
But yeah. Right. Well, on that note, guys, and apologies for overrunning again. We need to tighten up on this timekeeping malarkey. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone that's joined us. Just going through the comments quickly. Paul hopes that the same will happen with Inform Direct. It won't have a huge impact that they've now been owned by Bright. Clive has joined us a bit late to the show. That's all right, Clive. You can always watch us back. And Sue says, when transferring data, it has to be clean and tidy. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. So it doesn't matter who's doing the transfer. If the data is not right to start with, you've lost the battle. But yeah, right. Well, Aaron, go enjoy London and Westminster, and good luck telling them what they're doing wrong with small businesses. And we will catch you all here back again next week. Yeah, that's everything, I think, isn't it?
I think it is. All right. Cheers, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.